Hey everyone, I just set up this new shot here in my studio and it made me think of all the things that we often need to take our pictures that get glanced over because they're not, the camera or the lens or the flash or something like that. So I came up with 5 essentials that I think every studio needs, and we'll take a picture at the end of it and show you how each of those things affects the final shot. Let's get into it. All right, first thing is going to be clamps, because we need a million different ways to hold things down and clamp things down. A clamp like this, I'm lumping it under the same as the tiny clamps that are up on the light and the super clamp that's over here on the stand, as well as all of these grip heads. Any type of clamp is just going to add a lot of control to your workflow. I can't spend the whole video going over the million different ways you can use clamps, but there are, like, the simplest way I can imagine is just on a crossbeam and holding a background, and you can use that for portraits as well. Like, I've often hung paper backdrops from Dollarama or wherever and use them as a background for portraits. Number 2 is going to be paper backdrops. There's something really, really indispensable to $1, $2, $3 backgrounds, and that is the ability to just get it wet, fold it up, crunch it up, break it, rip it, put a hand through it, whatever it is. There are a bunch of ways that you can use these and get creative with cardboard paper. It's so cheap and it's easy to recycle, and you can just kind of, there's no, like, you're not breaking the bank. So I think using one of these is a very easy, clever way to get new backgrounds and fresh backgrounds that aren't, the $40, $50, $100 sometimes vinyl backdrops that you see online. So things like this, very indispensable, very, very cheap, and there are a million different ways that we can use them. Just swapping out the color to match specifically the type of product that you're shooting, or if you want to do a headshot or a close-up portrait and you want to match the model's eyes or something like that, it's a great way to just have a very cheap and fresh look to, without having a $100 piece of Savage paper that's hanging in the background. If you're just looking to do headshots or portraits, a little A1 or whatever the biggest size cardboard paper is probably plenty for, well, it's definitely plenty for some headshot style images. Next up is going to be this roll of tracing paper, and I think there is a million different ways, again, that you can use this kind of a product, and I think that's why it falls into my top 5 essentials. A lot of these things are things that we use over and over and over again, or they're dirt cheap that we can use them over and over again. And I think roll of tracing paper is one of those things. I bought this for maybe 70 bucks Canadian 4 years ago, and I'm still using the same roll. It has been really awesome. I've used it on 100 different types of shoots, and every time I need just a very, very large scrim or something to, add silver reflection to my silverware, or even just if you want to create literally the softest softbox and you have the room for a roll of tracing paper like this, you're not going to get a cheaper, softer light source than this and a flash behind it. It could be a bare bulb flash. You put it a couple feet behind this thing and you put this right next to your model. There's not going to be anything softer. So this is super, super invaluable no matter what kind of shooting that you do. Very easy to just fold it over and have 2 sheets of tracing paper, so that's double diffused. I know that Savage paper makes a very expensive version of this product, and I'm sure it's better. I've never used it, so I can't give active advice on it, but I do know that this has been plenty for the type of work that I do, and I use it all the time. And if I had the budget to maybe buy something else, maybe I would need it. If I need it, then maybe I would get it, but this is perfect for my needs. All right, next up is going to be these pieces of foam core over here. They come in a bunch of different sizes, and you can also just buy a big one here, cut it up, and make these smaller ones, or they make these smaller ones as well. One of the cool things about this one is I use it and I tape it to the back of this little Kupo grip stand thing. It just allows me to, put my reflector wherever I need to put it, like, very, very precisely. And one of these big ones, what you can do is, like, sure, yeah, you can use it as a reflector, but let's say you're shooting portraits outside or something, you can put it up over your subject so that it creates a nice open shade on them, and then use another flash to fill in the shadows and create a nice image. There's a million ways, again, that you can use these, so they're perfect for my top 5 studio essentials. And yeah, pieces of foam core. A bunch of different sizes. You can get them for dirt cheap at Dollarama, or you can spend a lot more at Michael's or another department store, but they all pretty much do the same thing. Hiding in plain sight, we've got these guys over here, the little sawhorse legs. There is no smaller footprint of a table than a couple of sawhorses like this. Versatility of something like this, again, is what makes it into this top 5 list. And I think they're, you know, no matter what type of top that you put on it, I've put literally just a ceramic plate, or I've put something as big as this little butcher block table. All these different platforms that you use will be nice and stable. I use another clamp of one of these to, you know, make it even more secure, and I can just move it together like a table. You don't need to get a super heavy duty, you know, 300-pound table that doesn't move, that's, you know, like a workbench or something like that. Just a set of these for pretty much any table setup is gonna be plenty for what you need. I think I paid $30 for the pair of them. Like, they're dirt cheap, and there is nothing more stable for that amount of money for table setups. All right, so now the fun stuff. Let's actually take this photo. It's been living in my head for the last couple hours, so let's make it come to life and see what we can come up with. The subject in question is going to be a piece of glass that's very reflective silver. In order to see what's going to be inside it, I absolutely need a backlight. So if you're shooting anything with glass, or you know, if you're shooting like a glassware, when you want to see something come through, if you want to see the liquid that's inside it, you need to shoot it from behind, or you need a reflector behind it to see what's actually inside. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use this big boy on this tiny little stand, because I ran out of C-stands, and we are going to, I'm going to open up my beam. There, you see it? Oh yeah, you do see it. Perfect. I'm going to open up the beam, and I'm going to point it very precisely at my product. There you go. Should be pretty good. Group B, Group A. Let's move on. I've got it set up with a little finger over here, or a dot, I guess, to just with a mesh, so that it doesn't necessarily remove any of the light qualities from the flash. There we go. So it doesn't remove any of the light qualities from the flash, but at the same time, I can still it just kind of removes a little bit of the hotspot on the very reflective middle of the shot, because I know that this is going to be super, super shiny, and I think this is just going to help control it a little bit. So that's why I added this kind of little setup. This is going to help fill in some of the shadows on either side, so we're going to get a nice glowing, heroic kind of look from each side, and this is going to help fill in some of those shadows from the front. So I know, even though this looks like it should be like the main light or the key light, I'm actually using this more as a fill to just kind of bring in more life to the front of the subject, whereas that back light with the projector is what's actually going to be our main quote-unquote light. At the very least, our brightest light, I think. I don't know. I'm not classically trained in photography. I just know what looks good sometimes, and I try to recreate it. You know what I mean? This is nice. All right. So we're going to try to take a couple shots here before I put any of the, because I'm adding liquid to this, obviously. And before I do any of that, we're just going to take a couple light tests before it starts moving and adding a little bit of uncertainty to the shot. It adds a little bit of random to the shot. So one light at a time. Start with our fill. I'm hoping that with everything that's going on around it, it's going to, oh wow, look how beautiful that looks. I love it. I already love it. Okay, so first thing, I need to raise my background a smidge, because I see my clips. This is the 100 millionth reason to shoot tethered. This looks already great. Okay, so next up, we got our backlight. So the backlight, I don't know if it's gonna make much of a difference until the product is in there, because, woo, wow. Okay, we can add a lot of life to that. Cool, okay, that's at full power. Let's try that, half power. Oh, what's going on there? Okay. What you doing, buddy? Oh, my shutter. Hey, Canon, what was that? What just happened? What's going on here? Okay, so that's full power. There's half power. I think I can go even less than that. Let's go quarter. There we go. So I think that's probably going to look good, and we're going to get a nice, like a clear, greenish, gross liquid glare from that shot. Let's take a quick light color test here. Whoops. Hey. Having issues here. Okay, that'll be good enough. Yeah, let's move on. Let's add some liquid. I've got pickles and pickle juice. Let's see how this looks. I got a fork. Success. What is a food photography studio without a fork? Yeah, just go 3. Let's just go with 3. Fine, usually odd numbers look a little bit better. Come on, buddies. Hey, look at that. Flash just woke up. And there we go. Cool. Gross. So I want more light in there. Not quite. All right, let's tweak it around. Let's see what we can what we can come up with. All right, so I'm playing around with this thing and I'm tweaking it inch by inch, and now I'm thinking maybe I should just switch the modifiers one for the next. So let's see what that looks like. That means I'll put this back here, try to get a ton of backlight, and then just a very pinpointed spotlight in the front, but I'm not sure if this is gonna work out anyways. You guys still see the screen record here? All I've done is change the modifiers. So let's see how that looks. Let's do one light at a time here. Actually too dark, or is it doing that bug again? Okay, not working. So, front shadow obviously looks way better. Maybe we can combine some shots. You know, nothing else has moved. That is another great thing about shooting tethered here. Kind of want to have 2 projectors. Goodness. What if I use it? Yeah. Try. We're gonna check that sun off. We're gonna replace it with a tight grid here. So this back here, remove. This actually adds quite a bit of light. And this really tight grid over here actually removes quite a bit of light. So we're gonna go from currently at 1/8 power. So we're gonna try to bring that up, let's say half power. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, too bright. But see how much nicer and more controlled that is? You know, there's less spill going on. Beautiful. Oh, now we're really edging out the jar. Whoa, okay. That's a completely different shot now. Fun. This is moody. It's not my style at all. It's kind of cool. Okay, let's just get one of these guys. I'm gonna set it to group C. I'm just gonna see if I can add a bit of light to the background. Because I do like that it's quite moody, but it's just doesn't really fit with my type of work. So let's just see what this looks like through the scrim. That's already a lot better, look at that. Okay, let's add a little bit more. I know you guys can't really tell what I'm doing, but I'm just hand holding the flash behind the scrim. Okay, so this I do not like. I don't like that we're adding this extra flare. You know, I prefer that, but I can combine those 2 images together. That's fine. That's woo. But if you're not doing a weird pose, I don't know if you're a real photographer. So let's get back here. Yeah, there you go. Trying to get a bit of fill on the front of those pickles. See if I might not use it, but product isn't moving, so it's quite easy. Okay. So let's try that. So we've got the tracing paper, we've got the reflectors, we've got the clamps, we've got, what else we've got the sawhorse, we've got the tables for sure. All of these things are crucial for taking the type of pictures that I like to take, but even for portrait work as well, because this comes from my portrait era of photography anyway. the steady tripod helps me take the same shot over and over again and just have very minor little tweaks and just kind of change one thing at a time without having too many different distractions. I can move a light by 5 millimeters and make sure that it's exactly the way I want it. What else did we get? We got the tracing paper. We've got it on this stuff as well. Even though we didn't end up using this in the final shot, I think it's still really cool to be able to use it in a bunch of different ways. And because this is cheaper than the name brand stuff, even, I mean, everything's relative anyway, but because this is a little bit cheaper, it allows me to be a little bit more, you know, I don't mind ripping it up and using it for this 1 or 2 time situation. But yeah, no, I think I'm really stoked with how everything turned out. I hope you guys liked the video. It's a little bit more free form, kind of just showing you guys what I'm actually doing. Leave a like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in a couple days. Later.